I get it. A lot of people hate transgender people. Like most hatred, it's based mostly on ignorance, ignorance of genetics, like it's either XX or XY and that's your gender, or biology, it's either a penis or a vagina and that's your gender, etymology, they can never be singular, psychology, you can't feel like a gender, sociology, just because you look like a woman doesn't mean that you are a woman. You name theology, and people who hate transgender people are probably ignorant of it. I get it. It's easy to be ignorant in an era in which we generally think that complicated issues have easy answers that we can find on Google or on Twitter. What I don't get is moving forward with that ignorance and hatred to the point that you want to take drastic actions to make transgender people's lives worse. And that's what's happening right now in Utah. And I'd like to point it out because A, it's dangerous for trans people particularly, and B, it's a really great illustration of how ignorant transphobes are of basic biology. Currently, people born in Utah can change the sex listed on their birth certificate if they get approval from a Utah court, a U.S. federal court, or a Canadian court. That's necessary for people who were assigned the wrong sex at birth, usually transgender people. But a new amendment would explicitly prevent transgender people from changing the sex on their birth certificate. The language reads, instead, the bill would only allow a person to amend their birth certificate by court order in order to change their name or correct any factual errors. Because of that factual errors loophole, this amendment's authors chose to include in the amendment some definitions of male and female. After all, if a trans person could say, yes, there was a factual error, I am not male, and boom, they get to change their birth certificate. And then obviously at that point, the heavens would open up and the 4 horse people of the apocalypse would descend upon the earth. Their names, of course, are gender fluid, big homo, feminazi, and being nice to people. And God-fearing Utahns shall tremble before them. So how do Representatives Ralph Okerlund and Merrill Nelson, who I should mention both identify as men, define what female is in this bill? And I quote, an individual with ovaries who is confirmed before or at birth to have external anatomical characteristics that appear to have the purpose of performing the natural reproductive function of providing eggs and receiving sperm from a male donor. Wow, where to even start with that? I mean, I guess we should first address the fact that apparently Ralph and Merrill think that human women have an external egg sac of some sort. Now, usually if a woman has an egg-producing characteristic, she keeps it daintily tucked away, unlike most men who dangle their testicles out in the open just asking for someone to come along and give them a good swift kick. There are females of some species with external reproductive organs, but they're not, as Ralph and Merrill state, providing eggs and receiving sperm from a male donor. They're clitorises, which are enlarged to the point that it can be hard for non-experts and, in some cases, even for experts to tell the difference at a glance between female and male members of these species that include hyenas and lemurs. These are known colloquially as pseudopenises, but of course, once the horse people descend in the new matriarchy, they will be known as megacltorises, and penises will be known as pseudocltorises. In fact, there's only one animal known to science currently that can be described by Ralph and Merrill's definition. It's the Allopassus aurantiacus, commonly known as the acorn worm, which lives on the floor of the Pacific Ocean off the coast of California. Oh, hello, neighbor. Lady acorn worms do in fact keep their ovaries on the outside, tucked in just under some wing flap type things, presumably so that when the male blows his load, they can just sail right through that spermy cloud and fertilize their little wing pits. So if Utah passes this amendment, it will put doctors in a very peculiar position as they fill out the information for the birth certificate. There will only be 3 things that a doctor can put down under sex: male, undetermined, or deep sea worm. And if you get assigned deep sea worm at birth in Utah, good luck getting that puppy changed.